The Nightbeat starts right now.
I'm still here and I'm alive, and that's all that matters.
She's a survivor and speaking only with KSAT about her experience after being shot in the face in the parking lot of the Quarry market. The young woman tells us how she fought to stay alive.
And from people standing on ambulances to attendees trying to stop the concert. More video now circulating from the fatal Astroworld Festival in Houston. Hear more stories from those who were there when 8 people died.
And he died trying to stop a fight. We speak to the parents of a Good Samaritan who say he had so much more to give this world.
But first, new on the Nightbeat, a carjacking turned shooting at the Alamo Quarry Market changed one young woman's life entirely.
Alana Castaneda sat down with the night team's Lee Waldman to talk to her about her story of survival.
It is a story you'll only see here on the Nightbeat. We want to warn you, some of the images in this story could be graphic to some viewers.
Take those moments every day, and I'm just like, you're a walking miracle.
The sun seems to shine brighter for Alana Castaneda. She says the air is fresher, water even tastes better.
It's just everything's different.
The 27-year-old has a new appreciation for the life she gets to live after it was nearly ripped away.
It just happened so fast.
Castaneda walked into Whole Foods at the Quarry Tuesday evening for a sandwich, like she always does.
I grabbed my door with my hand and I felt this presence. And I looked up and there was a gun in my head.
Castaneda got out of the car with her hands raised, trying to comply. But 18-year-old Julio Cesar Rivera II allegedly kept demanding her keys. He then hit her with the gun. She fought back, and that's when he fired.
The impact rotated my face so fast. And I just remember that my body just went with me and I collapsed.
She got herself up, ran back into the store, and got someone to call 911.
I think the hardest part in the whole situation probably wasn't the actual physical gunshot. It was the holding on to life.
She held on for her parents, who stayed by her side through the entire 7-hour surgery at Brooke Army Medical Center. Doctors placed 2 plates in her face to support her eye. The bullet broke bones, damaged her hearing, and was lodged in her neck.
This is the hardest thing I've ever been through in my life. But I'm still here and trying to turn that pain into power.
There will be more surgeries to reconstruct her face, make it look like one she remembers when she looks in the mirror. But this moment, though haunting, doesn't define Alana Castaneda.
I'm a survivor. I am a survivor.
She is indeed. And that was Lee Waldman reporting. In light of this tragedy is what's truly astounding. Throughout the conversation with Lee today, she just kept saying how grateful she was for the support she's received from friends and family, even complete strangers. She has physical therapy ahead of her, as well as a therapy to help overcome the trauma of the day.
Also new tonight, San Antonio police are looking for a suspect accused of shooting and killing a man on the west side. That incident happened around 6 p.m. on Jesse Avenue, not far from Old Highway 90 West and West Commerce Street. When police arrived at the scene, they found a man dead with a gun beside him. Police later discovered that gun was stolen. Police say the suspect took off on foot, so they tried to find him using their helicopter. The man who was shot has not yet been identified.
New developments now. We now know the name of a man who was killed in a crash on I-35 on Friday morning. The Bexar County Medical Examiner's Office has identified him as 36-year-old Joshua Rodriguez. The crash happened on I-35 between Eisenhower Road and Walsham Road. San Antonio police say Rodriguez crashed his car into the back of a gooseneck trailer. They say he was speeding and was not wearing a seatbelt. Rodriguez was pronounced dead at the scene. The driver of that trailer was not injured.
A Good Samaritan run over and killed while trying to break up a street fight. This all happening off of Potranco Road after a road rage incident. The Bexar County Medical Examiner's Office identifying that man as 46-year-old Orlando Castillo. The night team's John Paul Barajas spoke with his parents about their son, who they're now mourning.
He's 46 years old and I'm 76, and he's supposed to stay around after I'm gone.
Just after 11 p.m., Raul and Irene Castillo got a call from University Hospital. Their son Orlando had been in an accident He died in the ambulance while being rushed to medical staff.
We just couldn't handle it at the time. We just broke down.
We were told by sheriff's deputies that just before 10 p.m., two drivers who had crashed into each other followed one another until they got to Petrenko and American Lotus, where they then got into a fight. According to sheriff's deputies, Castillo was filling up at this QT when he saw a fight break out across the street. He ran through traffic to try and stop it, but got hit by a car going westbound. Deputies say that driver did stop to render aid and was following the speed limit. His parents explained Orlando tried to help everyone. Having gone down a dark path himself, he wanted better for others.
He had a drug problem, but he got rid of that, or he was in recovery. He had been recovered now 5 years, so he was doing great.
Raul and Irene are heartbroken. Their youngest son was able to turn his life around, only to have it cut short. He had even been working at the San Antonio Council on alcohol and drugs.
He helped a lot of kids recover, and he helped a lot of kids get back on track. And that was his job. He'd been doing it almost 3 years, and he enjoyed the hell out of it because he was contributing back.
Deputies on scene did question the people they say were involved in that fight, but at this time, there's been no word on possible charges. John Paul Barajas, KSAT 12 News.
Thank you, John Paul. In other news, an SAPD officer is under suspension after being arrested on an assault charge in connection with the domestic violence incident. We now have his new mugshot tonight. Take a look. Philip Ortiz Jr. is charged with assault bodily injury. The arrest record states Ortiz was allegedly involved in a fight with his significant other that turned physical. It states that at some point during the assault, Ortiz's work gun was discharged, but it's still unclear how. Ortiz has been with the department for 5 years, and he's being suspended without pay pending the outcome of this investigation.
More video is flooding the internet tonight of those who attended the Astroworld festival that turned deadly Friday night. Check out this video of one concert goer trying to get the show to stop after claiming someone was dead in the crowd. The show continued to go on. If you're on social media, that is just one of the thousands of videos out there about this tragic incident. Many also taking the time to share their stories of survival during the fatal crowd surge. A criminal investigation now underway, and rapper Travis Scott also speaking on camera for the first time. CNN's Cole Higgins reports.
A growing memorial outside of Energy Park in Houston after the Astroworld Festival ended in tragedy Friday night. As rapper Travis Scott took the stage in his hometown, fans surging to get a closer look.
I could feel, myself losing the ability to breathe. It was really hard with the amount of people around me. I straight up thought I was going to die.
Fans compressing tightly in the massive crowd. Some concert goers say they had no way to escape.
People were getting trampled. It was a death trap, basically.
Some attendees criticizing organizers for continuing the show, even as unresponsive people were being carried away, and as some fans tried to alert staff to what was happening.
That's okay with me real quick. Let's do it.
Scott taking to Instagram.
Anytime I can make out, anything that's going on, I stop the show and, help them get the help they need, I could just never imagine the severity of the situation.
Video from the concert's live stream does show Scott pausing his show at one point as an ambulance pulls into the crowd.
I'm honestly just devastated.
Houston's police chief says a criminal investigation is underway to figure out the cause of the surge. This after police say one security officer was pricked by someone at the show and revived with Narcan. I'm Cole Higgins reporting.
Such a disturbing story. A lawsuit is already being filed on behalf of one of the victims from that tragedy. Texas personal injury attorney Thomas J. Henry made that announcement today. Headliner Travis Scott and featured performer Drake are both being sued by the victim's family. According to the law firm, the state reports of the surprise appearance of Drake allegedly resulted in that fatal crowd surge. It also notes that the two rappers continued to perform despite emergency crews arriving in the crowd, as you just saw there. The promoter Live Nation and NRG Stadium also named in the lawsuit. The name of the victim the suit was filed on behalf of has not been released.
Back here closer to home, the Bexar County Medical Examiner's Office is working to identify a man who was stabbed to death on the south side. The incident happened around 1 a.m. on West Mitchell today in King Roger Street. When police got there, they found the man dead in a yard. Police then followed a blood trail which led them to the driveway of a nearby house. After speaking to some people there, 2 people were eventually detained.
San Antonio fire officials say a lit cigarette is to blame for an apartment fire that left $25,000 in damage. That fire broke out just before 1:30 a.m. at the complex off of Springvale Drive, not far from Medina Base Road and Loop 410. One person was treated at the scene for smoke inhalation. The fire crews were able to contain that fire to 1 bedroom. However, the first floor sustained heavy water damage. The Red Cross now assisting 2 families who were displaced.
All right, wrapping up another great weekend of weather outside. Currently not a cloud in the sky. Downtown lights are twinkling very nicely there, and temperatures have already started to fall into the 50s tonight. Currently we've got no issues with visibility, but as our temperatures continue to fall and as our winds become very light overnight, that'll set us up for some fog late tonight through the Monday morning commute. So we'll talk about the setup for the fog developing overnight. Over the next few days, gradually warmer and also a bit more humid through the middle of the week. And then we've got our next front arriving closer to Veterans Day, but we may not really feel the effects until Friday and the start of next weekend. So we'll get you ready for the week ahead coming up in just a bit.
In a little over 2 weeks, the holiday travel season will be in full effect. The best places to visit this year that will go easy on your budget. Plus, after a full weekend of vaccines for kids under 12, we'll tell you how schools around the nation are encouraging more parents to let their kids get the shot.
And it is yet another impact of the pandemic, the price of housing. A local realtor breaks down why San Antonio has seen a more than 12% increase over the last year.
The impact from the COVID-19 pandemic continues to make waves here in San Antonio. This time we're talking about the housing market. Research shows over the last year, the prices of homes in San Antonio have increased by 12.2%. We spoke with a local realtor about how this came to be. It's part of our Leading SA segment. Take a look.
It's not so much each area that's getting a lot of attention, it's what market segment is looking at those areas, right? So we're seeing a lot of 20-somethings and 30-somethings looking to either get deep into the city core or starting to look at, school districts, planning for their future, that kind of thing, moving into older homes, rehabbing them, making them look the way they want them to look. The pandemic really has stoked the fire of people looking inward and deciding on what they really want from a house and what things they need to have in order to be prepared for the next big thing, right? We are seeing also those folks who are downsizing, making an interesting move. A lot of folks selling their houses, the family home or whatever it may be, and moving into condos or townhomes on smaller lot sizes, lower maintenance, something that's a little bit newer perhaps, so that they can lock and leave, as we say, to go on vacations or go spend time with grandchildren and things along those lines. So it's not so much which areas are getting lots of activity, but which market segments we're seeing focusing on different parts of town.
He goes on to say that growth is not exclusive to San Antonio. It's also happening all around us, like areas like Cibolo and New Braunfels. To watch the full interview, head to KSAT.com and click the Leading SA tab.
The new Super Regional 2021 champion has now been crowned. We have the results from the 2-day band competition we first told you about last night here on the Nightbeat. And we want to congratulate Hebron High School. That's up from the Dallas-Fort Worth area. On your screen now is the other top scoring schools. Hebron High School won Outstanding Music and Visual Performance along with Outstanding General Effect. Congratulations to them and all those who competed here this weekend.
Well, if you're like me, you may have had a baby this year, and a popular parenting website released the top names of 2021. For girls, the top 5 names are Olivia, Emma, Amelia, Ava, and Sophia. And for the boys, it's Liam, Noah, Oliver, Elijah, and Lucas. This list was compiled by Baby Center. They say Olivia ousted Sophia for the top spot in more than a decade. Did your babies make the cut? Mine didn't, but this is still different than the Social Security Administration's list. To see that list, you can head to KSAT.com.
If your name's not on that list, that means you chose wisely. It is unique to you and your family.
I love all those names, though. They're such good ones.
Seems like they're kind of going back in time.
I love
like
that the classic names are back, which I'm a fan of. Yeah.
All right, Katie, we love the weather. It has been absolutely gorgeous. I refuse to turn the heat on. It has been cold in the house, but I tell you what, I'm enjoying it because we're not done with the warmer weather quite yet.
No, and even if you were out this evening, you may have noticed it's not quite as crisp outside as it was even just a couple of days ago, and we will see a gradual warming trend and also a gradual increase in humidity through about the middle of the week before our next cold front rolls in. So let's take a look at the high temperatures from today. Very seasonable. 73 the high in San Antonio. Our average this high of year is 74. We did have some upper 70s, low 80s, well, to the south, but with humidity still in check for the most part, it was still really comfortable out there. Currently at the airport, 57 with a dew point of 53. So these numbers, our air temperatures, our dew points, they're starting to get a little bit closer together. And when that happens, that's when we start to get into a setup for some fog overnight, especially if winds will be very light, as they will be tonight. So currently a lot of 50s across the board, especially along and north of 90, 63 in Cotulla currently, and 61 in Pleasanton. Our dew points, 40s and 50s here, but these numbers have been gradually inching up a degree or so over the past couple of days, and just a couple of days ago we had much lower dew points. So some slightly higher humidity. It was still very comfortable this afternoon, but now as our air temperatures drop down to get a little bit closer to the dew point, you may have started to feel the humidity a little bit more this evening. We've got calm winds from Fredericksburg down to Kerrville and Hondo. Elsewhere, our winds are just about 5 to 10 miles per hour, and we are expecting winds to drop off even more through the overnight hours. So current visibility as far as fog goes, things are just fine. It looks like well off to the northeast of the Houston area, some fog is starting to develop. But with the higher humidity in place tonight and light wind speeds, we do anticipate some fog to develop after midnight through early tomorrow morning. So here's 5 a.m. I do think by that time we could have some patches of some dense fog out there, and essentially fog will be possible through the morning commute until about mid-morning on Monday. I don't expect it to be all across South Central Texas, but there certainly could be some patches of fog out there. So keep that in mind for your Monday morning drive. But after mid-morning tomorrow, certainly as we get closer to lunchtime, any fog that develops in the morning will clear out. But you'll want to check in with the GMSA crew in the morning if you'll be heading out early. Mike will have a look at current visibility. Stephen will look at the road conditions. So do check in with the GMSA team tomorrow morning, as some fog is possible to start your Monday. After that, another really pleasant day tomorrow, mostly sunny skies. Our high temperatures will be up a few degrees from where they were today. So for us here in San Antonio, Bexar County area, that is mid to upper 70s. And again, you may notice the humidity just a bit more over the next couple of days. As we get to the middle of the week, Wednesday, Thursday, our dew points are back pretty steadily in the low to mid 60s, so it'll start to feel a bit more muggy by then. But look what happens back half of the week, start of next weekend. We've got our next front that is going to start to inch through on Veterans Day on Thursday, but it looks like we'll really start to feel the effects Friday. And then look at the start of next weekend. Our dew points take another big nosedive. So here's the setup. I'm going to jump ahead to Tuesday. We do expect an influx of some high cloud cover on Tuesday, so it could appear mostly cloudy at times by the time we get to the day on Tuesday. Wednesday, front is still off to the northwest, so it'll really start to feel a bit more warm and humid by the middle part of the week. And then our front sneaks through on Thursday. This brings us just a minimal chance of a stray morning shower on Thursday, and then a slight humidity drop by Thursday afternoon. But again, it's Thursday into Friday that the actual cooler, drier air mass moves in. So this is kind of an interesting setup. The big change in air mass will kind of lag behind the initial cold front by about a half day to a full day. And then we'll really start to feel the change as we get into Friday, potentially looking at high temperatures limited to the 60s by Friday afternoon, and a slightly better chance at a little bit of rain early on Friday. But look at next weekend, another great weekend potentially on tap with plenty of sunshine and highs in the 60s and 70s. So we'll keep you updated on the progress of that front this week, guys.
Still maybe not needing to turn your heat on if it's the same like that.
Yeah, but do I turn the air conditioning back on? That is the debate.
No, you don't turn the air conditioning back.
Greg Simmons will have a preview of Instant Replay right after this.
We'll be right back.
We have to talk about it. The Cowboys' 6-game win streak comes to an end at the hands of the Denver Broncos of all the teams. With more of what's on Instant Replay, let's check in with our Greg Simmons. This was a tough one.
But blame it on the time change.
There you go.
That's as good as a reason I can find. And the UTSA Roadrunners' incredible season continues with their 9th straight win and moving up in the latest college football poll. Coming up tonight on a brand new edition of Instant Replay.
4-man rush. Pressure again. Prescott is sacked.
The hottest team in the NFL shut down for the first 3 quarters today by the Denver Broncos, who just traded away their best defensive player in the history of their team this week, ending the Cowboys' 6-game win streak even with Dak back. What went wrong? We will show you.
First and goal. He's got it. He's looking for a spot to run. Gasket to the end zone. Touchdown Dolphins.
Tyrod Taylor was back at quarterback for the Houston Texans today after injuring his hamstring in week 2, but it didn't matter. The Texans lost to a team just as bad as they are, the Miami Dolphins, and their losing streak now extends to 8 games.
The city of San Antonio, I mean, we haven't been home in a month. We went through heck, and we're coming home 9-0. I hope that thing is rocking like I've been dreaming of it when we get back home.
That's right. The UTSA Roadrunners continue their incredible season as they manhandle UTEP and El Paso last night. KSAT 12 Sports was there, and our Larry Ramirez has the scoop as our Roadrunners improved to 9-0 and jump up in the latest college football rankings. All that plus will get you ready for the high school football playoffs, the SAFC postseason. How did the Broncos end the Cowboys' 6-game win streak? Tonight, you decide. Instant Replay is live, and it's after the Nightbeat. It was just brutal to watch, but good thing we can calm down because UTSA is on a roll still.
Yeah, fill the dome this weekend.
Absolutely.
It should be fun.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see you a little bit later, Greg. We'll see you right after this break.
President Joe Biden is set to travel this week to tout his infrastructure bill, which passed the House Friday night.
Yeah, the president promising a ceremony to sign the bill into law, quote, soon. Here's ABC's Andrew Dimbert with the details.
President Joe Biden travels to Baltimore on Wednesday to promote the new $1.2 trillion infrastructure bill. During his visit to the Port of Baltimore, he's expected to discuss how the package will upgrade the nation's ports and strengthen supply chains to prevent future disruptions. House Democrats, with the help of 13 Republicans, passed the bipartisan bill Friday night.
The motion is adopted.
The bill now awaits President Biden's signature. The president says he'll hold a formal signing ceremony soon. In addition to ports, it will provide investments in roads and bridges, railroads, and public transit, as well as upgrades to the nation's utilities, broadband, the power grid, and water infrastructure.
It is the first time in 50 years, we've made this kind of investment.
Republican Governor Larry Hogan telling CNN this was a political win for Biden, but it could have been a bigger win.
He nearly snatched defeat from the jaws of victory. It should have been an overwhelming win back in August. And I think he should not have let it get sidetracked by the progressives in the House. 6 progressive Democrats voted against the bill, disappointed it wasn't tied to a $1.75 trillion plan to fund things like universal preschool, child care, home health care for the elderly, and efforts to combat climate change. White House Chief of Staff Ron Klain telling NBC he believes the House will eventually pass that social spending bill.
We are going to get a very strong version of this bill through the House, through the Senate, to the president's desk, and into law.
Moderate House Democrats are looking for more information on where the money will come from to pay for the second part of President Biden's plan. Progressives say they were promised a vote by the week of November 15th. Andrew Dimbert, ABC News, New York.
Turning now to international news, tension is increasing in Iraq after an assassination attempt on their prime minister at his home. People nearby reported hearing gunfire following the sounds of explosions. Officials there say half a dozen of his personal protection detail were injured. However, the prime minister saying he was fine, describing the attack as cowardly and called for peaceful dialogue. In the last month, there have been violent protests following a recent general election there. Officials with the U.S. State Department saying they have offered their assistance as the Iraqis investigate.
Soon, 1 million U.S. workers will be required to be vaccinated after the Biden administration deemed COVID-19 an occupational hazard. But it could be halted, like the president's last attempt, as more states file lawsuits. Here's ABC's Kenneth Moten with the details.
After being canceled last year by the coronavirus pandemic, the 50th running of the New York City Marathon was held on Sunday. But this year's race looked a little different. The field was cut by 40%, and runners had to show proof of vaccination or a negative COVID test within 48 hours of the race. But COVID vaccines are not just required for marathoners. On Thursday, the Biden administration announced new federal rules calling COVID-19 an occupational hazard, which means nearly 100 million U.S. workers will be required to have proof of vaccination by January 4th, with some workers allowed the option to test weekly.
It's important we take every measure possible to make our workplaces safer. It's good for people's health, it's good for the economy, and that's why these requirements make so much sense.
Over the weekend, a federal appeals court blocked the new rule, questioning its constitutionality, but the Justice Department is vowing to defend the mandate. So far, at least 27 states have filed lawsuits against the new rule, calling it unconstitutional. Meanwhile, the push is on to get kids vaccinated as well, with Pfizer's pediatric vaccine now approved for 5 to 11-year-olds. Some believe vaccination is key to keeping kids in school.
We want to make sure that they can come back to school safely and stay in school safely as we navigate our way through the upcoming holiday season and flu season.
Many elementary schools are preparing to offer shots, though some are opting not to host vaccination sites after some middle and high schools receive pushback after offering shots. Vaccinations will also be required for international travelers, with a few exceptions. More than a year and a half after the U.S. closed its borders to visitors from many countries, those bans are being lifted as of Monday. Kenneth Moten, ABC News, Washington.
Happening tomorrow, for the first time in nearly 20 months, fully vaccinated Canadians will be able to cross the U.S. border for non-essential travel. While air travelers have been able to visit the U.S., tomorrow vaccinated Canadians can once again cross along the 5,500-mile land border that separates the two countries. Canada welcomed fully vaccinated Americans back in August, but the U.S. did not reciprocate at the time. Canada is requiring its citizens to present a negative COVID PCR test upon re-entry, which for Canadians can cost up to $300 apiece.
Testimony set to begin tomorrow in the trial in the murder of Ahmaud Arbery. 3 men are accused in the fatal shooting that was caught on camera. Tomorrow, prosecutors will call their next witness in the case, which has not been publicly released. The witness list is sealed. Friday was the first day of the trial where Arbery's mother witnessed the full video showing his death, along with body cam footage of the first responders who arrived on scene. The men facing charges have all pleaded not guilty.
2 elite Ivy League universities in New York State have the all clear after having to evacuate parts of their campuses for a bomb threat. The threat stated bombs were placed in several buildings on campus. At Columbia University, 3 buildings were evacuated. The university issued a series of tweets advising that New York Police Department was investigating. Meanwhile, Cornell University in Ithaca told its students, staff, and visitors to immediately leave the law school, along with 3 other halls. Both threats were deemed not credible by officials.
Some consumer news now. As a way to avoid another operational meltdown during the holidays, American Airlines is giving their flight attendants a bonus. According to an internal memo, those who work during the Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's holidays will get a 150% premium. But that's not all. Those who have no absences between November 15th and January 2nd will get an even higher 300% premium for the holiday hours they work. The airline has also been scrambling to replace the 8,000 flight attendants who were furloughed during the pandemic.
And the Twitterverse has spoken, calling for Elon Musk, the world's richest man, to sell 10% of his Tesla stock. Musk posed a question about selling stock on Twitter after hearing complaints about reports that he pays little or no federal income taxes. Because he draws no salary as owner of the electric vehicle company, the only way for him to pay taxes personally is to sell his stock. The capital gains tax on 10% of Elon Musk's Tesla stock would amount to more than $4 billion. Musk has said he would follow the result of the Twitter poll, whichever way it went, but so far has not announced his response.
All right, wrapping up the weekend. We've done really well with our weekend weather here lately. Clear skies now. Our temperatures are falling into the 50s, but for a lot of us, dew points are also in the 50s. That means our air is fairly saturated, and that could lead to some fog by early tomorrow. But let's take one more look at the beautiful day today. First day with that sunset coming before 6 p.m. It was around 5:43 today, so I know that kind of takes some getting used to, but it was a beautiful day. 44 the morning low, up to 73 this afternoon, very close to average for this time of year. We'll take another look at your forecast for the week ahead coming up in just a bit.
Thank you, Katie. Well, if recent flight issues have shown you anything, it's time to plan early. What you need to know before booking your upcoming holiday vacation.
And it's a whole new bunch of Marvel characters you've probably never heard of, the Eternals. See if the new film can bring in the same amount of crowds as past Marvel hero movies.
Well, more travelers are feeling comfortable taking to the skies. That's according to TSA, who says more than 2 million people passed through their checkpoints just on Friday, getting closer to those numbers that we saw in 2019.
ABC's Deirdre Bolton hunting down travel deals for this holiday season.
We're expecting to see a lot of people hitting the skies for the holidays.
A possible game changer for family travel this week, with the CDC officially recommending use of the Pfizer vaccine in children as young as 5 years old. The timing couldn't be better, according to Scott's Cheap Flights, with some fantastic deals on airfares across the country, like Atlanta to Denver for $97 in early December. Some other spots where families can find good value right now:
Miami, Honolulu, Vegas, Cancun.
And a little further afield,
between the U.S. and Europe, fares are extremely low. So just last week, we saw $325 nonstop round trip between Chicago and Switzerland.
It's not just Americans who want to be in the skies.
As of November 8th, when the U.S. borders open to Europeans and others, we expect to see those numbers start moving back toward where they were pre-pandemic as well.
To be sure, now is the time to buy tickets.
We're not going to have this oversupply of seats anymore, which means prices will normalize. Lock in those fares now. Even if it's for next summer or next spring, lock in those low fares now because those prices will normalize very soon.
Deirdre Bolton, ABC News, New York.
So I know we always say this every time this year, but can we bottle this up and just keep this? Because it's never around long enough, this weather.
No.
It feels like we got a break, though, this year because summer really started later. It kind of hung around a little bit longer, but I'm happy with where we are right now.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
We survived.
We survived. That's really how I feel.
I think we're like in real fall now. No more fake fall. We're in the real stuff now.
We got through like faux fall and then summer's last stand. So yeah, we're good. It'll get a little bit warmer over the next few days, but the cold front train, as I like to call it, the wheels are in motion, so they keep coming. We're just spacing them out a little bit. Speaking of fall-like weather, cute little holiday countdown graphic that Sarah Spivey put together for us. Of course, we've got Veterans Day coming up this week. Looking forward to honoring all of our veterans here in a few days. Thanksgiving. That number stressed me out. I'm not. All of these, Tim said all these stress him out. I know. But it's the turkey's so cute. Yeah, that's stressing me out. Hanukkah in 22 days. Winter officially begins in 44 days. Christmas is a little bit less than 50 days away, and then New Year's Eve, 54 days there. So sorry if that added to your anxiety. Sorry. Here's an interesting graphic that I wanted to point out. Our high in San Antonio today was 73. We were cooler than places like Amarillo and Lubbock this afternoon. So how about that? That's definitely not always the case. As I mentioned, over the next few days, we'll start to see our high temperatures jump up closer to 80 degrees, especially by the middle of the week. Also, a gradual increase in humidity, and that brings our morning lows, especially by Tuesday morning, Wednesday morning, even Thursday morning, back closer to 60 degrees. So it won't be quite so cool and crisp over the next few days, but not overly uncomfortable. There's our next front as we get closer to Veterans Day on Thursday. You'll notice, though, our afternoon highs really don't move much on Thursday. It's by Friday that I think we'll see some more noticeable changes behind this front. Really minimal rain chances toward the end of the week, 10% chance of a stray shower Thursday, only a 20% chance of an early shower on Friday. And our rainfall potential graphic here really kind of paints the picture. This lower tier, anywhere from 1/10 of an inch to 1/4 of an inch well south of Highway 90, will be for any showers that can get squeezed out early on Friday. But overall, things are looking dry here over the next 7 to 10 days or so. So let's take another look at the setup later on this week. We'll start you off on Wednesday. High temperatures Wednesday near 80, feeling a bit more humid. But there's our front. It'll be moving into West Texas by Wednesday evening. And then it will move through during the day on Thursday. But again, this won't be a front where we see that big drastic drop in temperatures or humidity. However, the cooler, drier air will get here, but likely on Friday. So the big change in air mass will actually be lagging behind the actual cold front just a little bit, such that by Friday we could potentially looking at high temperatures limited to the 60s, again with a low chance of some morning showers here. But again, rainfall is going to be at a minimum over the next week or so. And behind this front, high temperatures in the 60s heading into the start of next weekend. So we'll keep an eye on those temperature swings for you. Keep checking the forecast in the week ahead. In the meantime, 50s and 60s for our temperatures currently. Dew points 40s and 50s. Those of us that already have dew points in the 50s here will likely have a better chance at seeing some dense fog develop in spots overnight. So by 5 a.m. tomorrow, we've got some fog across the area. It will likely linger through the morning commute and then clear up by mid to late morning. So just keep that in mind if you're going to be out on the roads really early tomorrow morning. We are looking at some fog possible, and you'll want to check in with the GMSA crew. Here's a look at your morning lows across the board. Generally 50s, some upper 40s there in the hill country. After a little bit of morning fog, we'll break through to mostly sunny skies in the afternoon, and high temperatures tomorrow for a lot of us, upper 70s and low 80s, potentially nice and cool by Friday and the start of next weekend. As I mentioned, we'll keep you updated, guys.
So jackets in the morning unless you have a 12-year-old like me who refuses to wear one. All right.
I
like that.
It's not cold, Dad. Yes, it is. Put the coat on.
It's because your house is so cold. You're priming her for that.
I got her all warm. Figured out.
All right, coming up next, a new Marvel movie going head-to-head with a fantasy action film. See which captured the most eyeballs this weekend.
Sharing Barney's breakfast.
The animated comedy Ron's Gone Wrong moved up to 5th place on ticket sales of $3.6 million. Venom, Let There Be Carnage made $4.5 million for 4th place and a domestic total of $197 million. No Time to Die took in $6.2 million, staying in 3rd place for the 3rd straight weekend.
A still suit is a high-efficiency filtration system.
After 2 weekends on top, Dune slipped to 2nd with $7.6 million. It's made $84 million domestic. Marvel's Eternals blasted into theaters and easily won the weekend, opening with $71 million, the 4th best debut of the year. In Hollywood, I'm David Daniel.
All right, the San Antonio Spurs are looking to get their first win streak on the road, and for that matter, their first win streak of the season.
Right, and the high school football playoffs kick off this week. With more on What's in Instant Replay, let's head over to Greg Simmons.
Didn't we just start the high school football season?
Like it.
Flip through it. And one of those playoff games, by the way, will be called by a veteran broadcaster who's returned to Texas after calling the NBA championship this year. Coming up tonight on a brand new edition of Instant Replay.
Big body runs the floor, gets the dunk as Keldon Johnson gives the Spurs a 9-0 lead.
After beating the Orlando Magic now twice this season, once in their season opener and then again last Friday in Orlando, the Spurs looking for the first win streak of the season as they face the Thunder in Oklahoma City tonight. And San Antonio FC is coming off their first playoff victory since 2017.
It's been a 50-year journey. Wisconsin, we've got a room at the top of the world tonight. The Milwaukee Bucks are NBA champions.
He just called the Milwaukee Bucks NBA championship this year, but now this veteran play-by-play announcer has decided to move back to Texas, where his career began, and return to calling high school football games in San Antonio. In a moment, you will meet Ted Davis. And speaking of high school football, the playoffs kick off this week. Who's in and who's out? We'll get you ready for the best of big game coverage in our all-new 12's Top 12. And UTSA's win streak extends to 9 in a row this year, and KSAT 12 Sports is there. All that plus Canelo Alvarez is the undisputed champ, and a knockout punch you have to see to believe. Instant Replay is live, and it is next.
Another jam-packed edition coming your way.
We're ready.
All right, thank you, Greg.
We'll be right back. Stay with us.